Take the next step a little bit closer. Take the next step with Quinn. Take the next step and never stop learning. Falling down, then get back up and take the next step again.
Welcome to Quinn's Next Step. I'm Quinn. Here's hoping everything's working out for you today. Today I'm going to talk about America's educational system. Is it broken?
Was that if we keep going as we are, the great American experiment could fail.
First off, from Miss Massengill, Miss Beckler at Tomahawk Elementary, Mr. Moore, Miss Norman, Mr. Ramsey at Villa de Paz, Miss Thomas, Miss Fisco, Mr. Miller at Westview High School. To all my public school teachers and professors, thank you. I've learned something from you, one way or the other. In my younger years, I even looked up to you like aunts and uncles, sometimes even surrogate parents. Now I propose, if teachers are put in place of parents and family, the student's perception of the lines between family and community, the importance of each, and the importance of their differences can be shifted based on educational, experiential, environmental factors, among others. Very many nuanced situations when it comes to the education system we have, and I'm not going to cover all of them. If you want someone to cover all the nuances within the educational system, try out some other videos. There's some links in the description below to some mentioned here. Now, I'm a homeschooler. Have been since my son was reading and counting past 100 in preschool, and with an October birthday, he would have to wait to enter public school instead of starting the August or September right before his birthday. Between the school shootings, woke teachers, corrupt board members, misuse of tax funds for education, elementary schools introducing race wars and gender ideology, the local bureaucracies that make up the entire educational system, and the administrations, to include the teachers' unions, has not changed my view on how corrupt I think the public school systems are.
We don't have education freedom everywhere.
Right.
But for those who do have education freedom, what are things to look for when finding the school that's the right match for us?
Well, I think the best thing to look for is, what are your friends and neighbors? What have their experiences been? Word of mouth is powerful. And mama bears are especially so in comparing information and comparing notes.
Well, not everyone can homeschool. When I hear that question, or when I hear that statement that not everybody can homeschool, I 100% agree. Not everyone can. With all those nuances, that's not what I'm discussing here. I do have the question, though, do parents treat public schools like daycare centers? Do parents actually expect their students, their sons, their daughters, to learn anything from the public school that they send them to every day? And maybe I'll go a step further. Sure, there are public schools today, but what if none existed? What are some opportunities? What are some options? What would you do? In today's modern age, it's very easy to find out how to learn different things off YouTube videos like this.
Want a soda? Well, you'll pay more for these in Philadelphia because a few years ago, Philadelphia politicians voted to tax these.
Ayes are 13, the nays are 4, majority of members present.
Listen to the applause. The politicians said the tax will fund early childhood education.
This would be great for this community and to help a lot of families.
But did it actually fund education to help families?
So one observation I've made is in the public school system, when it comes to educators, many of them, not all of them, but many of them have never been outside of the educational system. They were in a public school or maybe a private school or charter school as a kid. They went off to college or university to learn how to become a teacher for a specific grade level or maybe hung out at college long enough to become a professor at a university. And after being a student for that long, they returned to teaching. So not only were they brought up by the government educational system, get into mountains of debt, most of them, for a college education, just to return back to the government system of education to get paid to teach others while paying off their student loans. So when it comes to teaching, who do you want to teach? You want a welder to teach someone how to weld. I had a compositing professor at the University of New Mexico who had worked on movies such as Green Lantern. So of course I would like to learn compositing from somebody who was a professional compositor. And that was a good opportunity. I am glad that he chose to stick around Albuquerque when Fox Spotlight had left and to start his own company, but to also teach the students that were there at University of New Mexico. So thank you, Aaron Estrada, for the compositing education. I know this isn't what you taught me. I'm working with the live stuff, recording stuff as I go. Now, some things I think that have worked well in public school systems is in 6th grade, I remember our class going to the 1st grade class and assisted those students with reading. In fact, the Getz family, if you ever see this, hello, thank you. I was able to teach the Getz's daughter how to read, and years later ended up going to the same church as them, coincidentally. Also at the University of New Mexico, I had an animation professor that's different than Aaron Estrada, where Aaron Estrada was precise in instruction. The animation professor had hired an animator from his company that ended up teaching most of the course. And many of the lessons were to go to YouTube to find a video on how to do something within animation. The socialization aspect is a moot point, in my opinion, because society is always changing. My socialization in a public school or a church youth group was vastly different than my socialization at university or in the workplace. As a homeschooling parent, my son has other opportunities for socialization outside of a public school setting, and as he navigates adulthood, he will need to learn how to socialize in that future society that will look very different to today's. Maybe the private sector has a better solution opportunity. What if parents had their children with them while at work? If farmers have kids that learn to farm, why can't a welder's kid go to work with him to learn how to weld? You have a friend in video production and your kid wants to learn video production? Let your kid go to work with your friend. Check out this clip on why the U.S. school system is failing.
Post-pandemic college enrollment numbers are still on the decline.
Is college worth it?
The education system is failing Americans.
This was actually a problem pre-pandemic.
You do not need a college degree.
A college degree does not matter.
And confidence is at a historic low, with only 36% of Americans expressing a great deal of trust. And so if things aren't fixed, are we screwed?
Now, part of education that I don't think is talked about is more of a societal need I think we have, and that's that we need to find ways to get the families back together, or at least keep families together, and to give them opportunities to grow together. If a farmer teaches his children to farm, they become farmers. Allowing, providing for, or collaborating with employers to have children accompany their parents in a work environment would have endless educational opportunities, namely in reading, writing, mathematics, which can be dissected out of any profession. Maybe the child is into something else. In a community with other friends and family, the opportunities to match children with a potential future profession, learning environment grows. A transparency in education is built in, and who knows, perhaps the community and companies within could prosper, while also reducing the size of government and need for public schools and their overbloated administrations anyway. At the moment, it seems we have a carousel of educators teaching future educators to teach future educators, while many stay with government employment and are not equipped to educate the next generation of manufacturers and tradesmen. Match the child with their gifts, talents, interests, and abilities, and throw in a curveball every once in a while and watch how resiliently they adapt to overcome obstacles and succeed. So how do we find ways to keep parents in the home more so they can educate their own children? We used to have a way, maybe where the husband was never there. Or me growing up 80s and 90s, both parents weren't there because dual income was huge. So we were basically latchkey kids raised by the state and by state employees. So here's some other benefits with reducing the size of government, especially in our school systems. So most schools are built on property taxes. Well, if you reduce the property taxes by the elimination of schools, that provides for more funds for families to use to educate their children. In addition, you reduce poverty by giving the opportunity to more families to go from lower classes into the middle class by getting a home. Most people are priced out of homes not just by the mortgage on itself. It's going to include the interest, yes, but also any HOA fees that are tacked on, but the property taxes that are used mostly for the local school systems. Whether you're in Texas, where the high school football stadiums look like college arenas, or you're in a small town with a couple bleachers, the average price per student is going to be different in every location. And if school choice is really going to include all school choices, then providing for opportunities for families to stay in the home would be part of it. As a homeschooling parent, don't need your government check, but I also don't need to be charged property taxes. I can support local students and children and teachers in different ways. Joining the public school system won't be one of them. While historically, public schools were used as manufacturing lines for pumping out students to do the same thing year after year, and then through the 80s and 90s where you had to have a degree to get anywhere, to make more money. A dream where kids can learn from their parents and from their extended families and local communities, I know is a big dream. And getting back to that sense of community, discipline, accountability, individual pursuits is a tall order. Public school systems, class sizes, even what's being taught is not conducive to the individual child that is being raised. When it comes down to it, it's all going to be on the parents. Whether they sent their child to a public school trusting the public school system or not. You need to parent your child, not ship them off to a stranger, to be surrounded by strangers. You don't know what other kids are going to be around. What are you going to do? You're going to go to a board meeting and yell about it? They don't have to listen to you, and they won't listen to you. You can vote board members out and vote new ones in. And depending on how tightly you want to watch that bureaucracy and play in that bureaucracy, that's up to you. But you can avoid all that drama and figure out how to homeschool. What is the average cost per student in a public school in the U.S.? Now, from homeschooling our son, I'll tell you, over time it's gotten cheaper, not more expensive. In fact, it's given us more availability to do things like more field trips. And because we're the parents, we don't have to sign a permission slip. We take our kid to the Ark Encounter. We can take him down to the Alamo. So whether it be a politician, public school, charter school, private school, any type of organization, church, sports club, why would anybody join you? Knowing your bureaucracies and how easily it is to misuse funds, whether it be a tax or a manipulated gift, stealing from people is wrong. So if you're in the public school system and you want to find out more about homeschooling, ask some questions below in the comment section. We'll do our best to get you some answers. Hey, if the idea of homeschooling isn't for you and you're fine with sending your kids off to the public schools, have at it. And as far as any of you public school teachers watching this, that you know you're not woke and you stick to the reading, writing, and teaching kids how to think and not what to think, thank you. Appreciate you. Wish there were more of you there. Wish more of you would speak out against all the craziness going on.
The transparency ended in August of 2021 when Sage started high school. She started a public high school, and she told me that all the girls there were bi, trans, lesbian, emo, and she wanted to wear boys' clothes and be emo. Because I saw it as just a phase, it was fine with me. But at school, she told them something different. She was now a boy named Brooke Draco with male pronouns. Sage asked the school not to tell me, and they did not tell me, even though I informed them of her mental health history and medication. If I had known, this would be a much different story. She was terribly bullied. No one told me, but boys followed her, touched her, threatened violence and rape. Something happened in the boys' bathroom, but for 2 days, the school told me nothing. They kept meeting with Sage alone, and she became so distraught, they called me to pick her up.
You guys don't find a problem with that? The school and your baby keeping information like this from you. Something happened to her child at the school and they didn't tell her. And they still didn't tell her after she picked her up. She had to pry it out of her kid.
And quite frankly, I wish more of you teachers would do your own thing, because the best teachers would make the most money. You can do an online thing or not, but to each his own. You have your path, I have mine. You take your next step, I'll take my next step. Hit like, subscribe, share this video. Please leave a comment below, and we'll see you at the next step.
Take the next step a little bit closer. Take the next step with Gwen. Take the next step and never stop learning. Falling down, then get back up and take the next step again.
You're still here? It's over. Get out of here. No. Well, since you're still here, here's some of my education. Thanks for checking it out. See you next time. So I've been to a lot of public schools. Started off kicking it off in preschool at St. Paul Lutheran Church in Phoenix, Arizona. Had kindergarten, started off in Tucson, Arizona, before I went to Tomahawk Elementary School, Horizon, Menzendick Jack, Tomahawk, Pendergast, Villa de Paz, Westview, Ball State, Arizona State, Glendale Community College, El Paso Community College, Estrella Mountain Community College, and the University of New Mexico. Also with education in the United States Army.